Coming up on this week's edition of NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
We'll have the latest on NCBA's efforts to ensure that fake meat is properly labeled and regulated. Plus, we'll discuss federal regulations and what NCBA is doing to help protect your operation.
And now, NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
Hello and welcome to Cattlemen to Cattlemen. I'm Kevin Ochsner. Being a leader in the nation's oldest and largest cattle industry organization takes dedication, as Kansas producer Jerry Bone has proven. He has served in multiple roles, including the 2019 Vice President of NCBA. He's here now to share some of his insights on what it's like to be a volunteer leader. Jerry, tell us just a little bit about your background and your own operation in Kansas.
Well, I grew up in Northeast Kansas, graduated with an animal science degree from Kansas State. I started out early in my career working for Hormel Packing Company. I didn't like southern Minnesota all that well, so I moved back to Kansas and started working in feed yards, and I spent 3 years in a feed yard, and then I spent 7 years in Denver working for CattleFax under Topper Thorpe. And then in late 1982, I took a job as general manager of Pratt Feeders in Pratt, Kansas, and spent 34 years there as general manager of we feed about 85,000 head of cattle at one time. So also do some irrigated farming in the Pratt area.
Now, you have a long history of providing leadership to the industry, and obviously that takes a lot of your own time and effort away from your own business, your operation. Why do you think it's so important for folks like yourself to commit time to serving the industry?
The beef industry is a great industry, and there's nothing more noble than producing food for people. And so I enjoy getting involved in promoting the industry, promoting our beef product, and to help meet the challenges that we face as an industry. We get attacked from many different directions, and it's important that we have spokespersons and people willing to volunteer time to protect the industry.
Couldn't agree more. Now, we just finished up with a fantastic and well-attended convention. I'm curious, how would you recap and review the work of this past week?
We've had a lot to celebrate this year. NCBA's had a lot of wins, and particularly in Washington, D.C., from a regulatory standpoint, as well as a trade wins, particularly like Japan, USMCA, getting all of that passed. And so it was really a week of celebration of just honoring what the industry's accomplished, and particularly NCBA's contribution to it.
Yeah. You talked with a lot of people this last week. I mean, what were the things on top of their mind as we look down the barrel of 2020?
Well, I think continue to discern what our cattle price is going to do. What are you going to do about fake meat and that situation? Are we going to get these trade agreements done with China so that we can send some beef to China? And just the election, we got a presidential election coming up. There's a lot of talk about politics and concern about who's going to get elected and who's not. So, but I think we've got a really good year ahead of us. And so I think people were very optimistic and are looking forward to a successful year.
I ask a lot of you leaders about this, but I'm curious, why is it important to be members of NCBA and not just your state and local cattlemen's organization?
NCBA has 20 people working in Washington, D.C., and they're there every day to lobby and to work to promote the industry, to help get legislation passed, to protect us sometimes from the onerous regulations that the government often wants to put upon us. And so they're there doing the work for us when we're out taking care of our cattle and our farms. And we're also involved as a proud checkoff contractor where we promote beef, and we're doing research and helping get beef on the center of the plate for consumers.
Nothing could be more important. Thank you so much for your time. We'll look forward to having you back on the show soon.
All right, good to see you.
The cattle industry needs a strong voice in our nation's capital, and that takes all of us working together. Stand with Jerry and other members of NCBA by joining today. It's easy to sign up. Just call 1-866-233-3872 or visit the website ncba.org. NCBA is leading efforts in Washington to make sure that plant-based and lab-created fake meat is properly labeled and regulated. Joining us now to talk about this topic is Danielle Beck, NCBA's Executive Director of Government Affairs. Danielle, did we gain any ground on this topic this year?
We in Washington, D.C. made a lot of progress that I'm really happy to report on. This fall, there were 2 pieces of legislation introduced in both the House and the Senate called the Real Meat Act. MEAT stands for Marketing Edible Artificials Truthfully, and that legislation will accomplish several important goals. First, it creates a standard of identity. It codifies a definition of beef. That strengthens the law, ensuring that when these products are looking at, they're being mislabeled, FDA will really take a better look, a stronger look at taking enforcement action. It clarifies or reiterates that these products need to have the word imitation preceding the product name, a disclaimer saying there's no meat in the products, and it also strengthens the regulatory oversight by allowing USDA to step in. Right now, FDA says that they don't have the resources to. USDA is chomping at the bit, but they don't have the regulatory authority. That would allow USDA to step in when FDA is unwilling or unable to do their job. We're working on gaining a strong co-sponsor list. We've already got great bipartisan support in both chambers, and so the short term, that's what we're working on.
That's great news. And as you mentioned, labeling is so critical because so many consumers are confused. Now, you recently commissioned a study with NCBA. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, also this fall, we commissioned a survey of over 1,800 respondents, which is twice the national survey size, trying to get a better understanding of what they view terms like plant-based as and how they view various attributes for these products. And so we found out that more than half of consumers understood or did not understand that plant-based beef is an entirely vegetarian or vegan food product.
More than half?
More than half.
Wow.
1/3 actually thought that they had real meat of some sort in it, which is pretty astounding.
Wow.
What was even more concerning, though, is when asked to rank plant-based products versus beef on a host of these attributes, fits my budget, is a great source of protein, beef won out. We've got a strong reputation there. When it came to is processed, is lower in sodium, is more natural, is healthier, plant-based products won out. 44% of respondents thought that plant-based products were lower in sodium.
Wow.
Yes, there is 75 milligrams of sodium in a 4-ounce raw serving of ground beef, regardless of what fat, lean content you're looking at. Impossible has 270 or 290 milligrams. Light Life, one of the other products we were looking at, has over 500 milligrams of sodium. These products are 200 to 600% higher in sodium than real beef.
All about perception and critically important, the work that you're doing relative to labeling. Let's talk dietary guidelines as you speak about nutrition. That's an important process that I think sometimes goes under the radar for many of us cattle producers. Why is it so important for the beef industry to be engaged in the dietary guidelines?
The dietary guidelines are the cornerstone for all federal nutrition programs and policies. You know, whether you understand how the dietary guidelines impact your everyday life or not, they impact it. The dietary guidelines provide this set of recommendations for all health professionals across the United States. When it comes to protecting beef's role on the plate, that's really what matters.
Critical. And so where are we in the process, and specifically what's NCBA's role in this dietary guidelines process?
Yeah, we are nearing the finish line. The public meetings were about 4 out of 5 almost through. The advisory committee is expected to publish their report in May, on May 11th. Once that report is received by USDA and HHS, the comment period where scientific input is being encouraged right now will close, and a new comment period will open up. USDA and HHS will be taking input from everyone, all vested stakeholders, consumers across the board, and they really want to hear from the public. So at that point in time, NCBA is going to be calling on all of our members to weigh in and engage.
That's great. So why is it so important for viewers back home to engage in discussions like the ones we've been having?
Beef producers have a really strong, powerful voice in Washington, D.C. We've made tremendous amounts of progress in this administration.
Been a big year.
It's been a huge year, and we want to continue making those gains. The more producers weigh in, the more they talk about the benefits of beef, they tell their story, the better off we're going to be.
Thank you for helping to lead the fight in our nation's capital. We appreciate your help.
It's my pleasure.
Now, if you'd like to stay up to date on key issues and events from D.C., one way is by becoming a member of NCBA. Members receive the Beltway Beef newsletter, a weekly report straight from Washington that gives a summary of top policy issues that will impact your business. To join, just call 1-866-233-3872, or you can visit the website ncba.org. Still to come on Cattlemen to Cattlemen, we'll introduce you to the new Executive Director of the Public Lands Council and hear her thoughts on some of the top issues facing ranchers who graze on federal lands. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Simmons Brothers Limousine in Amherst, South Dakota is a fourth-generation family operation that treats their cattle and their customers right.
Service is one of our number one criteria. We offer a first-year unconditional guarantee on the bulls.
Simmons Brothers breeds top-quality limousine bulls and females, focusing on the traits and the production that will put money in their customers' pockets.
They were commercial cattlemen before they came into the limousine business. They're cattle feeders. They really know the kind of genetics that it takes to be successful.
We're trying to bring a bull that our customer would be able to put on any set of cows, and those calves could earn a premium when he brings them to the sale barn.
You can depend on limousine genetics from Simmons Brothers. Don't miss their 40th annual production sale at 1 p.m. Central Time, Thursday, February 27th. Call today to get a sale catalog and to find out more.
As beef producers know all too well, decisions made in Washington, D.C. can have a huge impact on our business. That includes federal regulations that often dictate what you can and can't do. Joining us now to share some insight on this important topic is Caitlin Glover, who was recently named Executive Director of the Public Lands Council. Caitlin, tell us just a little bit about your background.
Sure. Well, I'm excited to be joining the Washington office at NCBA and PLC. Most recently, I was in the office of Senator John Barrasso from Wyoming, where I was his policy advisor for agriculture, natural resources, and Native American issues.
Excellent.
Yeah, so it's a great fit. I'm very familiar with the issues, familiar with the producers, and really excited to be joining the office.
So how will that experience working for the senator help you in this new role as Executive Director of PLC?
Well, as a policy advisor, my job was to take a variety of priorities from a variety of groups and synthesize those down into a single recommendation for him. And that's much like my job here, to take the wide array of opinions from across the country for a fairly narrow set of issues, right? Federal lands are mostly on the western part of the United States. And to synthesize that down into a single policy platform, single mode of action for producers across the country.
So I'm curious, as you take the leadership reins, what are your top priorities?
Sure. Well, look, this is a producer-driven organization. So I serve at the pleasure of our producers. Their priorities are my priorities. I'm very lucky to have a set policy book from which to have a foundation so that we are prepared for any issue moving forward. Obviously, there are a number of issues that have arisen over the last few weeks, but making sure that we have consistency for environmental permitting, access, and all of the other issues that are key to that federal land portfolio, that's where my priority lies.
You mentioned that most public land issues revolve around the western United States, but this is not just an issue that ranchers in the western United States should be concerned of. Why is that?
So look, for me, it comes down to two issues, right? To volume and then an issue set. From a volume perspective, a significant portion of cattle in this country spend some time on federal lands.
Sure.
That figure is even higher when you look at sheep producers. When we're in Washington, it's nice to have friends, and so when you work not necessarily always across the aisle, but across the industries to have a consistent policy platform, that's incredibly helpful. That helps from a national perspective. And then from an issue perspective, we're seeing a lot of these federal regulatory burdens that used to just be a Western problem encroaching across the U.S. and they're hitting the East Coast.
Sure.
Producers are now dealing more frequently with the Endangered Species Act,
right,
the Migratory Bird Treaty Act, and a number of others where our Western producers have a really great level of experience and history of experience to lend to their fellow producers.
Certainly have achieved some great things in Washington, D.C. You mentioned endangered species. That's been a win. But I'm curious, as you think about the next 12 months, what are some of the key priorities in 2020 as it relates to Public Lands Council?
Sure. Well, I'm very lucky to be stepping into this position a week on the job, and we have some once-in-a-lifetime, once-in-a-generation opportunities. The administration has announced proposed changes to the National Environmental Policy Act, which, if those are finalized and those are defended ultimately in court, that would change the framework and make things much better for our producers. The BLM has also announced a scoping process for grazing regulations where we're exploring opportunities to make that permitting process better. So of course those are top of mind, but as we look to the next 12 months, a lot of other issues are going to emerge. In the Endangered Species Act, what we do with these migratory birds, water issues, of course, some big wins there. I expect we'll continue working on all of these issues.
As an organization or an industry that depends so much on natural resources and federal lands, I can't think of a more important role or responsibility. Thank you for joining this organization. We look forward to having you on the show many times in the future.
Well, I'm very happy to be here, and thanks so much.
Thank you. Now, for more information on the issues that impact federal lands and the ranchers that graze there, be sure to visit the website publiclandscouncil.org. Still ahead, you'll learn more about Gelbvieh cattle and meet some ranchers who are using Gelbvieh genetics in their operations. Don't go away. We'll have more right after this.
Are you concerned about the impact government policies could have on your cattle business? One way to make your voice heard in Washington is by joining NCBA. When you join, you'll have access to key policy updates and insights from Beltway Beef. It's the best way to hear directly from NCBA's DC team. Beltway Beef provides valuable policy information, and it's free for NCBA members. Stay in touch with Beltway Beef. Join now at ncba.org.
Welcome back. Gelbvieh cattle are popular in several countries around the world, including the United States. Reporter Brian Baxter introduces us to some producers who have used Gelbvieh genetics to improve the performance and profitability of their herds.
One of the strengths of America's cattle industry is the men and women who, working together, have built family businesses that are sustained across multiple generations.
Well, the ranch was started by my great-grandfather about 140 years ago. Donald MacDonald came from Scotland, and he immigrated to Canada, and this was in the late 1860s, and then he came down through Canada and worked, and then finally came down to this location on Chugwater Creek, and decided this is where he wanted to set up his ranch.
So the Paulus Ranch was homesteaded in 1905 by my great-grandfather, Ernest Paulus. He proved up on a Kincaid Act, and so in 1910 he actually got ownership of one section of ground, and we've built from there. So I'm fourth generation, my two children would be fifth generation, and we are a commercial Gelbvieh Angus cattle ranch.
While proud of their long history, each of these family ranches, one in Nebraska and one in Wyoming, have also been willing to make big changes and to adapt their cattle herds by taking advantage of Gelbvieh genetics shortly after the breed was first introduced in the U.S.
Gelbvieh cattle originally came over from Germany in the 1970s, and that was about the same time that the American Gelbvieh Association was started. Throughout the years, the Gelbvieh breed has been very progressive, and in the early 2000s, the American Gelbvieh Association started registering the hybrid cattle of Gelbvieh and Angus, and we call those a balancer.
My grandpa started out with horn Herefords, and we introduced Gelbvieh into our operation mainly just because we wanted to try a change, and we felt that the Gelbvieh genetics, once we got them, changed everything for us, and we saw improvement in our herd, saw an improvement in the maternal side especially. We were able to keep our own replacements that way, and from there it's just snowballed into a black-hided animal that works great in the sandhills.
What works for us on this, using the Gelbvieh in our herd versus some other breeds, is their docility, the milking ability. They have good bone, good muscle. They convert well. They utilize the feed well, what we feed them. Just good productive cattle.
With rough country and often severe winters, this part of the world calls for a hardy cow, and the Gelbvieh breed stands up to the challenge.
The Gelbvieh cows milk well. They're just big old stout cows. They can handle this environment. They can handle the rocks. They, can get around. Our pastures are very large, and they can earn their own living pretty well. They breed back well.
Cattle here need to be able to kind of take care of themselves pretty much on range. And then during the winter, they're supplemented with cake and hay. But what we look for in a cow and in an animal that's going to do well for us is something that we can keep replacements out of, as well as produce a nice steer in the fall.
I think that the maternal strengths, the maternal superiority of Gelbvieh and Balancer females can provide many benefits to commercial cow-calf operations. Gelbvieh and Balancer influenced females just make tremendous mother cows. They reach maturity early, they have high fertility, they can provide increased productivity, and those cows stay in the herd a long time with longevity and stability, and ultimately contributing more potential profit to a ranching operation.
These ranching families were quick to see the benefits of adding Gelbvieh and Balancer genetics to their herds, which gives them the added performance that comes with crossbreeding.
Well, we're running the Gelbvieh Balancer bulls that the hybrid vigor that you get through the crossbreeding really helps, and the Balancer bulls seem to do that real well for us.
Once you introduce Gelbvieh, you're going to get that hybrid vigor, that growth that is going to push those cattle to the most extent that they can become. And we've tried straight red Angus before, and the Gelbvieh side is just going to give you that much more growth. The maternal side, not only on the cows, you're going to get the maternal side, but you're going to get extra milk that you're going to get from that you wouldn't see in some of the other breeds.
I think there's a renewed interest in crossbreeding with many producers, and Gelbvieh has a lot to offer in that regard as far as hybrid vigor and also breed complementarity. They cross very well with the British breeds, so you get the best of both worlds. You get the strength of Gelbvieh, strength of whatever breed you're crossbreeding them with. People who run Gelbvieh and Balancer influenced females love those cows. And then on the feed yard side of it, these Balancer cattle are great feeder cattle.
And as with other breeds, a strong association stands behind these families, serving them with a variety of programs that can help improve their herd performance and their marketing options.
The American Gelbvieh Association has always been very commercially focused, so not only do Gelbvieh and Balancer cattle offer the traits that work for commercial cattle producers, but the American Gelbvieh Association also has tools and services to help those commercial cattle producers meet today's modern industry demands. Those tools and services include our Balancer Edge and our Feeder Finder program, which help commercial producers to market their feeder calves. And then we also have our Smart Select service, which is a commercial database that folks can use to help track the performance of their commercial cows and in the end help them make selection decisions.
With those tools and more, these family ranchers are set to continue raising Gelbvieh cattle for yet another generation.
I started my cow herd when I was 8 or 9. My grandparents gave me my first Gelbvieh Angus heifer that I showed in 4-H. And then since then I've gotten more heifers throughout the years and been able to show them in both 4-H and FFA. I really like the Gelbvieh Balancer genetics. I love their temperament and they're so pleasant to work with. We care about what we do, and it's family centered. So the fact that we get to have our family and do what we love, I think that's a really beautiful thing.
A beautiful thing for sure. In Wyoming and Nebraska ranch country, I'm Brian Baxter reporting for NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
To learn more about the Gelbvieh breed, visit the American Gelbvieh Association website at gelbvieh.org. Still ahead on Cattlemen to Cattlemen, we'll highlight the outgoing president of the American National Cattlewomen. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
For commercial cow-calf producers, crossbreeding with Gelbvieh and Balancer is the smart, reliable, and profitable choice. Gelbvieh and Balancer females offer maternal superiority through increased fertility, greater longevity, and more pounds of calf weaned per cow exposed. In the feed yard, Balancer cattle deliver increased performance, improved feed efficiency, and excellent carcass merit. Balancer adds the pounds. make the grade, and deliver the value. Gelbvieh and Balancer, the smart, reliable, and profitable choice. Find out more at the website gelbvieh.org.
Hello, friends, and welcome to the NCBA's Cattlemen's Call podcast. Now, the goal of this podcast is to focus on the people in the beef industry. We all have stories to tell. We all have successes and failures, and it's always great to talk about all the hard work that we put in to our operations in our industry. So we're taking the time to talk about what everyone else is talking about for cattlemen and women to share what's on their minds. And make sure and subscribe to the Cattlemen's Call podcast today.
There were 3 beef industry groups gathered at the 2020 Cattle Industry Convention in San Antonio: NCBA, the Cattlemen's Beef Board, and the American National Cattlewomen, also known as ANCW. Reporter Abby Terzini has more on one Montana cattlewoman with a passion for the beef industry who spent the past year leading ANCW.
In southeastern Montana, Wanda Pino and her husband Craig own and manage Brackett Butte Ranch, a family cow-calf operation.
Craig's grandfather homesteaded this land, and actually not on this spot. He was a couple sections over, and then the dirty 30s, he lost it, and then he was able to buy this piece of land back, and this is where his grandfather and his father both farmed and ranched. We have not been in the business as long as some others are, but here in eastern Montana, a 4th generation ranch is pretty cool to have.
In addition to being a full-time rancher, Wanda has volunteered with a variety of state and national ag organizations. That includes serving as the 2019 president of the American National Cattlewomen.
It was 10 years ago that I went to my first American National Cattlewomen's meeting. I have been a member for 15 years, and I knew about 5 years ago I wanted to do that job, but I was just waiting. I waited 2 years before I interviewed for it. But I saw the sisterhood. I saw what we were accomplishing, and I wanted to be a part of that.
As ANCW president, Wanda had a chance to meet one-on-one with cattlewomen across the U.S. She kept up this busy travel schedule despite being diagnosed with cancer before she took office.
I did not keep it a secret because I didn't want them to see me off or wondering why I wasn't at this event or whatever. I wanted to be upfront with them. But it has given me the strength. Sometimes when I just want to go to the hotel room and rest, it's given me the strength to say, hey, you signed up for this job, you better do it. And it's wonderful to know that I have the support of all the members out there.
Wanda also helped launch ANCW's WIRED program, which stands for Women in Ranching Education and Development. These events offer cattlewomen hands-on education about the basics of livestock and the day-to-day operations of a ranch.
4 years ago, 33% of the women ranchers of the farmers in the United States were women. Now it's 40%. So we're rising, and we got to educate our members, we got to educate our neighbors on what to do, how to handle vaccine, how to give a shot, how to worm a cow, how to pick the right animal for the breeding program. And all of that is part of our Women in Ranching Education Development. It's a hands-on program. Very, very proud of it. If we want the family ranch to continue, then it has to be up to the daughters, and they are stepping up to the plate. And you know, it's no longer a single venture, it's a joint venture. It's a husband and wife venture. You sit down at the table in the morning and you discuss what you're going to do for the day. And whether or not you need one's help or the other one needs the help, it's a joint venture. It's not a single decision.
Wanda is especially proud of the hard work of both ANCW and the National Cattlemen's Beef Association in Washington, D.C. to tackle important legislative issues affecting the beef industry.
For our dollars of our membership, we're getting spokesmanship in Washington, D.C. We're getting help on the local level. If there's an issue, there is a name we can call and talk to personally, and they will listen to your problem. So get in contact with those people in the NCBA office. Tell them your problems. They can connect you to the right people.
It's easy to see Wanda is a firm believer in the power of ANCW to unite women like her who have a passion for the beef industry. Reporting from Baker, Montana, I'm Abby Terzini for NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
American National Cattlewomen is a voice for women who share a passion for the beef community. To find out more information about the group, go to the website ancw.org. Up next, we'll tell you about a great new product from Corteva that is helping cattle producers fight weeds and grow more grass. We'll be right back.
Don't miss the 2020 NCBA Legislative Conference in Washington, D.C. It's your opportunity to meet with congressional and federal agency leaders to let them know where cattlemen and women stand on critical issues that impact the cattle business and our way of life. Together, we can do more. Make plans to be in Washington, D.C., March 31st to April 2nd for the 2020 NCBA Legislative Conference. Details at ncba.org.
Out here, you know what needs to be done, and you know what it means to those you're doing it for. But every sunrise brings something new, with the weather, the soil, the markets, your machinery. You can't always predict what it will be. So it's good to know that Ram trucks are more than capable of helping you get it done right.
Cattle producers are always looking for ways to grow more forage and maximize their profitability. But weeds and other invasive species can reduce grass yields and hurt an operation's bottom line. Cattlemen to Cattlemen reporter Brian Baxter has more on a new product from Corteva that is a game changer in the fight against weeds.
Last summer, cattle producers and land managers participated in a series of Corteva regional field days aimed at showing them new ways to manage their costs and produce more high-quality forage. Effective weed control can help achieve both goals, and the field days introduced a valuable new tool in the form of Duracor herbicide.
Corteva is so excited to bring a new product to the range and pasture market. This is our first new active ingredient that's coming to the market in over 15 years. So excited to have this new product, Duracor, to provide ranchers the most comprehensive broadleaf weed control. Duracor is made up of 2 reduced-risk herbicides. It is powered by Rinskor, which just won the Green Chemistry Award. So a rancher can feel good about a product that is truly bringing some sustainability to meet their needs.
When we look at the benefits of Duracor, low odor, low use rate, great environmental profile, it's a product that a producer can go out and make an application with and feel confident that they're going to get the job done.
In addition to a strong environmental profile, Duracor offers control of more than 140 broadleaf weed species at lower use rates and with improved application flexibility. This provides the opportunity for cattle producers to increase their profit per acre.
When you get into that mindset that you're in a profit per acre business, you start to look at your pastures a lot more different than before. You start looking at those areas where you don't have as much forage production and the reasons why you don't have as good a forage production. Roughly for every pound of weed pressure that you have in the field, you're going to remove a pound or a pound and a half of forage production. So getting that under control shifts those resources back to those desirable species that we have growing in our pasture, which in turn helps support more beef per acre.
Flynn says Duracor provides improved weed control in a single pass, making it more economical than mowing, especially in high weed pressure situations.
A few things that Duracor addresses that other products in the past have not been as successful at have been members of what we call the carrot family, so wild carrot, poison hemlock, wild parsnip. Those species have been very difficult to control, and a lot of the products that we've used to control them have caused some grass injury. And so to have control of those now without causing any grass injury is pretty significant.
One of the real strengths of this product is going to be its activity on what I consider annual weed problems, primarily things like bitter sneeze weed, things like marsh elder, woolly croton, and other weeds that tend to be the pigweed spectrum, for example, spiny amaranth, which tend to be a real problem, not just in the prairie of Mississippi, but all across the state. I think DuraCore is going to bring good control to a number of perennial weeds.
DuraCore works very good on a lot of the problem weeds that we have big issues with. For us, that's going to be a variety of chicory, poison hemlock, wild carrot, buckhorn plantain, ragweed, thistle, to just name a few. It's very effective on all those species. It gets very good control on a lot of our problem pasture weeds, and really gets a good control and improves the grass production in the treated pastures.
Using DuraCore to maximize your forage through effective broadleaf weed control, along with fertility and sound grazing management, can give you more from every grazing acre, allowing you the possibility of grazing longer or even running more cattle on the same land.
One is that you could be increasing your stocking rate by utilizing this newly available forage. And so having those extra head on helps offset the cost of the herbicide and hopefully helps increase the profits as well.
I think with the cattle market where it is today and the cost of production, producers are going to add fertilizer, and you can either allow your forage to take up that fertilizer and the moisture that you get, or you can allow the weeds to take up the nutrients and moisture. And if you have a significant weed problem, then you're obviously going to lose in terms of your forage productivity. And so that helps maximize the efficiency of the operation by controlling those weeds.
DuraCore is also compatible with liquid fertilizer and can be impregnated on dry fertilizer in select states, giving producers the option of one-pass fertilizer and weed control for their pastures. I'm Brian Baxter reporting for NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
You can find out more information on this game changer in broadleaf weed control by visiting the website DuraCoreHerbicide.com/C2C.
And joining us now is Damon Palmer with Corteva Agriscience. And Damon, it's always a fun time to catch up with you here at the Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show. I guess to kick things off today, let's talk about all you're doing in the area of innovation in range and pasture.
Yeah, so it's great to be here at CattleCon 20. We always take this time to meet with customers, talk about our innovations. But as you mentioned, we focus on innovation in range and pasture. And in 2018, we've kind of introduced Corteva to the world because of our Dow heritage. And at that time, we said that we would like to launch 3 new products in 3 years. And that was a pretty tall order, because people were saying, hey, Corteva's new, are you dedicated to the cattle industry? And we're progressing well.
Well, we heard a little bit about the Landvisor program. Walk us through that one for folks who maybe didn't catch it the first time.
Yeah, so I think very familiar based on the segment with DuraCore and everything that will bring from a new innovation standpoint. But as we look at 2020, we're also introducing Landvisor technology in the Southwest U.S. And Landvisor is really going to be the future of mesquite control. And it is a digital solution, digital decision tool that really will bring together imagery, it will bring together analytics, and then also a personal consultation. And so it brings really the best of Silicon Valley with 50 years of our experience in range and pasture to provide new solutions for the rancher.
Wow, that is so cool, and it's great to see technology actually make its way to the land, especially for those producers out there that are battling that mesquite program. problem.
Yes, mesquite, as many producers know that have mesquite, very, very invasive, really can decrease productivity on their land, whether they're managing for cattle and forage production or wildlife. And that's one thing that LandVisor will do is it really helps a landowner understand their objectives, and we can help match a solution to that.
So I want to learn a little bit more about another product or in the area of technology, ProClova.
Yeah, so we just announced a few weeks ago that we have submitted a new herbicide to EPA for registration by the name of ProClova. And ProClova will meet the needs of ranchers, and we've been hearing about this need for decades. And ranchers will come to us and say, we've got weeds, we know it's decreasing our forage productivity, but we've also got white clover in the pasture. And we don't want to spray something that's going to kill that white clover. And so pending registration by EPA, we're anxious to launch for the 2021 season, so a year from now, pending registration, a product, ProClova, that will kill weeds but preserve white clover.
Well, it really is about maximizing profitability out there on the range for these livestock producers, and Corteva really is on their team.
Corteva is on their team, and the pastures, the rangeland, it's, if not the largest, one of the largest assets that producers have, and we can help them maximize the return on that asset.
I kind of want to wrap things up, Damon, talking about a very popular program that you folks have sponsored for a long time, and we've done a few interviews on it, the Environmental Stewardship Award program.
Yeah, we're so happy to sponsor and support the Environmental Stewardship Award program for over 20 years now, and it just really matches up the things we know producers are doing to steward their land, recognize and reward them for that, and hopefully help them tell their story to all the consumers out there that have questions about sustainability in beef production, and I think it's a great tool to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hats off to you folks at Corteva Agriscience, and again, thank you for joining us once again here on Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
All right, thank you, Russell.
All right, that's going to do it for now, Kevin. We'll go ahead and send it back to you in the studio.
When we return, it's time for a visit with the cowboy poet, Baxter Black. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Your land is more than a business. It's a heritage that has been passed down from those who tended it before you, by those who shaped it, changed it, and cared for it. Your land has a legacy, one that you carry on, but also one you build on. At Corteva Agriscience, we are the stewards of a lasting legacy. We have a responsibility to Dow AgroSciences, to maintain the relationships and trust they built, and to build upon those foundations. To help you care for your land, to provide innovations that help you protect the hard work and investment you've poured into it. To help you build a legacy that can be passed on for generations to come. Corteva Agriscience.
Did you know that Prefert makes over 1,000 different farm, ranch, and rodeo items? And now, thanks to Prefert Direct, it's easier than ever before to get access to every item Prefert makes delivered direct to your local dealer. For more information about Prefert Direct, visit us at prefert.com. Prefert, America's #1 name in farm, ranch, and rodeo.
Speaking about funny, Baxter Black has put together a 6-hour, 3-DVD collaboration of nonstop agro humor. Baxter has been entertaining farmers and ranchers from Johnny Carson to Elko, Dolly Parton to Las Vegas, and Ark City to Martin, Tennessee. Treat yourself. It's like being there. 3 DVDs for $25. Call 800-654-2550 or baxterblack.com. Did I say non-educational?
There was a horse sold this summer in Missouri, probably the most famous horse in the world, Trigger. RFD-TV paid a lot of money to own the mounted figure of this celebrity equine, Roy Rogers, Paramount Palomino. They also purchased his dog, Bullet. Now, I like horses, and I like pretty horses, but like most cowboys, I like good horses. And even the toughest, no-nonsense working cowboy could look at Roy Rogers and say, well, he rode good horses. I'm of the age that can remember when Roy Rogers was king of the Hollywood Cowboys. Roy and Dale, Pat Brady, Nellie Bell, Gabby, Trigger, Buttermilk, and Bullet became part of my idiom. I can't think of Roy without thinking about Trigger. It's hard to explain to teens today that being a good person pays off. Instant technology and instant answers to almost any question can be found on the internet today. The one question that the internet can't answer is what's the right thing to do. Well, that's what Roy taught us. He and Hoppy, Rex, Gene, Cisco, Lone, and Sky, in their simple parables, they showed us the difference between good and bad, between right and wrong. They led us to believe that the code of the West boils down to doing the right thing. If Roy called me on the phone tonight, I'd recognize his voice immediately. And if he asked me what was going on, I'd tell him about the great honor that we have paid his horse and his dog, and that we still think about him, and that kids still are watching these old movies because there's still a market for heroes in our kids and our grandkids. I'd also mention that many of us appreciate that in his private life, he lived up to the image of his movie character, a decent man. That's not a bad way to be remembered. Of course, speaking of being remembered, there's that horse sale. Haythorne's Horse Prophet sold for $50,000. I took a paint gelding in trade for a speaking job, and RFD TV paid $266,000 for Trigger. They also bought Bullet for $35,000. You'd have thought at that price, they'd have thrown Bullet in for free. Well, this is Baxter Black on Rex Allen's Saddle from out there.
Saddle up and make your way to the Gaylord Rockies in Denver for the 2020 Cattle Industry Summer Business Meeting. This is your chance to get updates on critical beef industry issues, opportunities, and policies. Plus, meet and work with industry leaders and your fellow cattlemen and women. Mark your calendar for the 2020 Cattle Industry Summer Business Meeting, July 27th to 30th at the Gaylord Rockies in Denver. Find out more and register at ncba.org.
We didn't just design the 6M tractors with you in mind. We designed them with you by our side. The new 6M tractors from John Deere, reimagined by you, for you. With improved visibility, better maneuverability, and more ways to customize, so you get everything you need and nothing you don't. Experience the new 6M at your local John Deere dealer.
Welcome back to Cattlemen to Cattlemen. You'll never find a lack of patriotism at the Cattle Industry Convention. And each year, there's a contest sponsored by Norbrook to choose a person to sing the national anthem. Lane Nordland introduces us to this year's winner.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming?
During the 2020 Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA trade show, the opening session highlights the national anthem, a big tribute to our nation, of course. And for many years now, Norbrook has sponsored the NCBA's national anthem contest. And this year, a 16-year-old young lady from Oklahoma was the winner of this year's event. Anna Kelsey is a junior at Tecumseh High School. And what was it like taking the stage and singing the national anthem for the nation's cattlemen and women?
It was just absolutely amazing. I enjoy singing the national anthem anyway, and I've never sang it in front of that big of a crowd, and it was just absolutely amazing to be able to participate in that.
Now, you have a pretty big background in the cattle industry. Your dad is with the Oklahoma Cattlemen's Association. What's it like being able to be a part of this industry and sharing our nation's pride as well?
It's just amazing to be able to be a part of something so big and so complex, but actually know what's going on and just have so much fun doing it, because I show cattle at home and it's just fun to be able to work with them and get to know what you're doing with them. So yes, it's so much fun.
Now, I believe you are the sentinel for the Tecumseh FFA chapter. What's it like participating on the state FFA level and also on the national FFA level in the national FFA chorus?
That is probably like the highlight of my year, being able to do those chorus things, because it's just so much fun getting to meet new people and learning how everyone else learns and how you all get to work on something so big and then be able to perform it and see people's reactions is just so much fun.
Well, of course, that was 2019, and coming into 2020, she kicked off the convention here in San Antonio and wowed the audience with her rendition of the national anthem. And of course, Chip Whitlow with Norbrook is with us, and for many years they've been a proud sponsor of the national anthem contest. Chip, what's it like being a part of this and just giving so many people an opportunity to share in our nation's pride?
Well, it's certainly a great event. Anna did an awesome job making the people from Oklahoma very proud, I'm sure. And we're at Norbrook very proud to be able to sponsor this event.
Well, thank you so much, Chip, for your help and helping us celebrate our nation and kick off the NCBA convention and trade show the right way. Thank you so much, and congratulations to Anna. And again, this is my favorite part of the convention, when we kick off the general session with that national anthem.
O'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Do you want to sing our national anthem at the 2021 Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show in Nashville? Be sure to follow NCBA on Facebook and Instagram for more details on how to enter the contest. Are you worried because you missed an episode of Cattlemen to Cattlemen on RFD TV? Well, you're in luck. You can visit our YouTube page for replays of all of our shows, which are filled with educational segments and producer profiles from all across the country. So check out and subscribe to the Cattlemen to Cattlemen page on YouTube. Well, that wraps up this edition of NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen. Thanks so much for spending time with us. We'll see you again next week, right here on RFD TV.